Hello, I am your everyday average Jonathan. Join me this week as I turn this and this into this, what might be called a combination between a Venetian and Gothic ornate mask. Hello, I am your everyday average Jonathan. I'm an ordinary guy with ordinary tools making extraordinary items. This week, I'm going to be making a mask. My best friend challenged me. He gave me some ideas for a mask that I think were from video games. He showed me some images, and for some reason that planted itself in my psyche. And one night when I was going to sleep, I tend to imagine things. I tend to wrestle with objects and things that I'm going to build in my mind. For some reason, this particular vision of a mask just implanted itself in my head. It's not what my best friend had showed me, but it is a mask. It's howling wind outside. It is extremely cold. Even though it's no longer Christmas, I thought it would be fitting to wear this black Santa hat. So without further ado, we're gonna bundle up and get to the shop and get started. Come with me. So as I mentioned, this mask came to me basically from a friend suggesting it, but also it sort of honestly came to me in a bit of a dream. And I was looking for something that was somewhere between the cross between a decorative, almost Venetian looking mask and something a little bit more, I don't want to say sinister, but something a little bit more interesting to go with my Dread Warlord suit of armor. If I didn't want to wear the helmet, I could wear something like this mask. It tended to evolve what I was going to do with this mask, but the first things first, I was going to make this out of 8-inch steel and 8-inch thick steel, and I didn't have any plate, so I had to weld this plate together to get something that's large enough for it and then lay the template over the top of that. Now there's going to be a lot of cutting, quite a bit of grinding. There's literally only metalwork going on in this entire thing, so it's just tons of work with the angle grinder. But the shape is something that I like the way that it turned out, and I basically just had to make it uniform and symmetrical. Also, when grinding, you can burn holes straight through your soft clothing, but another also is when you're using swage blocks, be very, very, very careful with your fingers because those little finger tippies can get caught up in an extremely heavy piece of metal there. Now, just starting to shape this so that it's going to bowl around my face, curve around my face. Each part I wanted to almost fit me particularly to my cheekbones. Now what I'm doing is I'm chiseling out what is going to be this nose indentation or protrusion. I did need to heat this up and use it on the swage block. Quite a bit of different angles for this to actually get it to be the basic form of a nose. Like I said, I feel like I used all sorts of different hammers, all sorts of different angles, and kept having to heat it up and bring it to different parts of the shop to get this indentation. But in the end, it actually did look like a nose. Now, I'm going to put a spindle on the top of this. It's just something decorative I wanted to do to go off the top, and I gave it a little bit of accents here, as you'll see. I didn't realize this, but I was going to need that later for a secondary piece that I'm putting onto that. I did make a little mouth hole and 2 nostril holes just so that it didn't get too much condensation on the inside of it. Now I'm going to go ahead and make the attachment for this mask. I did not want to have a string or some sort of lanyard that goes around the back of it. Taking a small break here to make sure that the dogs are behaving themselves. God bless the dogs. That's it. Back to the shop. I was going to make a retention system that's basically going to look like Magneto from the X-Men with some semi-skull cap type thing that you see here that's going to reach over the back of my head with arms going around the top as well below my ears. And if that sounds like it's going to be painful and a lot of work, you're actually wrong. It actually formed really quickly and pretty well. I did have to make some slight modifications to it. As you'll see here, I wanted to make sure that there wasn't anything standing off of my head, so it forms pretty well. No one else is going to probably be ever able to wear this, but this is the ratcheting system that I made. So to put this mask onto the back of that retention system, I needed something that was mechanical. And I'm telling you right now, I'm proud of myself because I made this up. And I don't know where I got the idea from. I'm sure I got it from somewhere. But I made this ratcheting system up, riveted onto the mask, and then as you see here, it works. It's not flawless, but it does work. That's the only way that mask is going to go on with that particular retention system. As I often do, I oil darken everything, get it really nice and hot, get the metal up to heat, put some linseed oil on it, and it'll be blackened that way. Now what I'm doing is I decided that I wanted to make one more piece that's going to go over one half of my eye, over the top of my eyebrow and up the side of my face. My brother's visiting me for Christmas time, and I got him on the angle grinder. He had never done it before, but he was a complete champ at it. Got him to go ahead and sand the piece that we cut out here. And as you'll see, it's a very accented piece just in the style of it. My brother's using the hammer, getting him to use things in the shop that he hasn't done before, and he was a pro. He was a complete stud at it, and just great to have him. Now that spindle that I said that I made and put on top of it, that's going to be basically this piece of metal is going to clasp onto that spindle and then overlap one of the edges of the mask, as you'll see here. I'm just welding on a little clasp, and then Bob is your uncle. Actually, Bob is not my uncle. Bill is my uncle, but that's okay. Heating this up one last time. I'm going to get some more oil on this, and I was going to have my brother also practice putting linseed oil on a piece of metal, and here you have it. As you'll see with this sort of accent piece, once it's on, it really does fit in a stylized way. And here's the way that piece looks when it overlaps the actual mask itself. I like the way it turned out. It fits exactly the way I wanted it to. It's detachable, and actually I didn't really realize this, but it needed to be for me to get on the mask. And here's this gruesome fellow here with the mask on at sunset. Not all that gruesome, but very interesting. I'm very pleased with how this came out by and large, and I think it'll be a neat accent piece for my suit of armor.
You'll have to forgive me. It is howling wind outside and extremely cold, so I'm sitting by the fire getting warm. I'm pretty proud of this mask. This mask came together. It's not perfect. It doesn't work exactly the way I wanted it to, but this ratcheting system that I have here is surprisingly effective. I'm very pleased with that. This piece that hooks on here, that hooks on it really well. It does the job, and I like the way that it looks overall. I do think I'll probably wear this for something like Halloween. It's not quite as gruesome as I thought it would be. I am wearing the black Santa hat, the dark Santa hat, because I thought it was befitting to this mask, and my daughters will point out that I did find this on the side of the road. I did wash it, but I thought it was too cool not to wear. There's really very few takeaways on this. I did put some felt in here to give it a little bit of padding, felt on the front side as well to give it a little bit of padding. This actually came together surprisingly a lot more quickly and more efficiently than a lot of my builds. There was a lot less band-aid work, as I often say. But that's it for me for this week. If you like build projects like this that are fantastical, that are whimsical in nature, weapons and armor and that sort of thing, check out my channel for other builds that are like this. Join me next week. I will be making something called the Quillian dagger, or Quillian dagger. I'm not quite certain how it's pronounced, but it's a arming dagger or a pretty long knife, perhaps. I'm very interested in how that's going to turn out. I look forward to sharing that with you next week. Until then, stay warm. God bless.